Jackson sees the family on a bench near the playground. Three figures huddled together against the October chill. A woman with chestnut hair pulled back in a practical ponytail holds two children close. A girl about Tara's age and a younger boy. Their clothes are worn but clean, patched with careful hands that speak of pride fighting poverty. The children's faces are gaunt, their eyes too large and thin faces, and Jackson's enhanced senses catch the sour scent of hunger radiating from them, that particular emptiness that comes from days without enough food. The little boy watches a family nearby sharing a bag of crackers, his small jaw working unconsciously as if chewing along with him. When the other family's toddler drops a piece on the ground, the boy's eyes track it with desperate longing before his mother gently turns his face away. The woman's blue eyes are bright with unshed tears as she pulls both children closer, trying to shield them from their own want. When her gaze meets Jackson's for a brief electric moment, he sees himself reflected there, the bone-deep exhaustion of someone carrying the world on their shoulders. And for a second, Jackson feels his entire existence shift. He knows that look, the quiet desperation masked as determination. The way she holds her children closer when strangers pass, as if the world itself might snatch them away. Jackson's chest tightens with unwelcome recognition. 7 years ago, he'd worn that same expression, clutching a newborn Tara outside a gas station at 2 a.m., $17 in his pocket and nowhere to go. It is autumn, cold, and he's never seen her before in Silver Hollow. Beside him, year-old Tara chatters excitedly about her day at school, her auburn braids bouncing with each step. Jackson half listens, his amber eyes focused on the strangers, a habit ingrained from years of vigilance, years of knowing that safety is never guaranteed. "Dad," Tara notices as well, tugging at this oil-stained flannel sleeve. They look hungry. Jackson's wolf stirs restlessly beneath his skin, urging him toward the strangers. "Help! Protect!" The scent of their hunger, sharp and acidic, cuts through him like a blade. The little girl leans against her mother's side, so thin her collarbone juts prominently beneath her faded sweater. When a breeze carries the smell of someone's lunch from across the park, all three heads turn toward it with instinctive animal awareness before them. Other catches herself and looks away, shame coloring her pale cheeks. "We should ask them to dinner," Tara says, already stepping toward the bench. Jackson gently pulls her back, his grip perhaps too firm. The woman on the bench notices their attention, and he sees her straighten defensively. "Don't look weak. Don't let them see how desperate you are." He remembers that pride, that shame that burns almost as much as the hunger. "We can't, kiddo." "Why not? You know why?" His voice drops to ensure only she can hear, though his reasons run deeper than the ones he can share with a 7-year-old. "We have to be careful, always. Because humans aren't safe," he doesn't say, "because we're on our own, and that's how it has to be." The woman on the bench frowns at their attention and straightens, pride evident in her posture despite her circumstances. She whispers something to her children who gather their meager belongings. He's find his again, and Jackson feels something crack inside his chest, a hairline fracture in the wall he's built around his heart. The look she gives him isn't accusatory, just tired, resigned disappointment. Jackson knows that feeling intimately. "But Dad, you always say to show kindness to everyone," Tara says. "Not now, Tara." Jackson breaks eye contact, guiding his reluctant daughter toward home. "We have plenty of food," Tara protests as they walk. "And the spare room is just sitting empty." It's not that simple. Nothing ever is. It is that simple. If only it were. If only helping didn't mean exposing themselves. If only he could trust that compassion wouldn't backfire. That opening their door wouldn't eventually lead to losing everything again. By the time they reach their small house attached to Jackson's garage, Tara's disappointment has hardened into anger. She barely touches her dinner before storming off to her room, leaving Jackson alone at the kitchen table with his guilt and his ghosts. "I do everything to keep you safe," he whispers to the empty chair where his daughter sat. The same justification he's used for 7 years. Jackson stares out the window at the gathering darkness. His mind wanders to Tara's condition, wolfless, rejected by her own kind before she was old enough to understand why. Years of isolation have protected both her and the unsuspecting humans around them. This is why they can't get close to anyone. This is why he can't afford the luxury of compassion. But that woman, she'd looked at him without judgment even as he walked away. When was the last time someone had looked at him like that? When was the last time someone had seen him as more than a threat to be avoided or a resource to be used? Yet he can't shake the image of the woman and her children. 7 years ago, after being cast out from his pack with a newborn daughter, he'd found himself in a similar position, alone, desperate, with a child depending on him. Back then, he'd hoped for a helping hand, a moment of grace from a stranger who might understand. Instead, he'd learned that the world was full of people who would cross the street to avoid someone else's problems. Jackson rubs his face with calloused hands. Had he made a mistake, his natural kindness wars with hard-earned caution. There had been something different about the woman, something that called to his wolf in ways he doesn't fully understand, something that whispered family in a voice he thought he'd forgotten how to hear. "She'll be fine," he tells himself unconvincingly. Silver Hollow has resources for those in need. And yet, as night falls completely, he can't help but wonder where they're sleeping tonight. Can't stop thinking about that moment when their eyes met. What will become of them? Chapter 1. Diana. Diana Collins wakes with a start. Her Chapter 1. Diana body. Stiff from the cold park bench that served as their bed. The early morning chill seeps through her thin jacket as she pulls her children closer, trying to share what little warmth she has. Amy and Oliver sleep fitfully against her, their small bodies curled tight like question marks. Morning dew clings to the playground equipment, making it unusable even if the children had the energy to play. Diana blinks back tears as her stomach clenches painfully. They haven't eaten in almost 3 days, not since John dropped them at that gas station outside of town. The memory of his broad, sunny face, the only friend she had defying Dominic's orders, still makes her throat tight. "Keep low," he'd advised. "Maybe he'll forget about you if you keep quiet. Out of sight, out of mind, and all that." Diana glances down at her sleeping children and wills herself to be strong. No one else will be. Yesterday's encounter with that man and his daughter proved that once again. For a moment she'd seen something in his amber eyes, something like recognition of their shared struggle. But then he'd turned away, taking his daughter with him. All the same, a flash of white catches her eye. Something on the bench beside them that wasn't there when they'd fallen asleep. Diana carefully shifts Amy's head from her lap and reaches for the package wrapped in plain brown paper. Inside, she finds still warm containers of food: scrambled eggs, bacon, pancakes, and fruit. 3 bottles of juice nestle alongside 3 paper-wrapped breakfast sandwiches. A note in blocky handwriting reads, "For later." Diana's eyes dart around the empty park, searching for their mysterious benefactor. Who would do this? And why not stay to help directly? "Mom." Amy's voice is groggy as she sits up. "What's that smell?" "Breakfast." Diana manages, her voice thick. "Someone left us food." Oliver stirs at the word food, his blue eyes widening as he takes in the feast before them. Diana distributes the meal, taking only a small portion for herself despite her gnawing hunger. Oliver hesitates for a second. "Is it poisoned?" he asks innocently, and Diana has to laugh and stroke his hair endearingly. "No, sweetie, it's fine." She watches her children eat with a mixture of relief and determination. This won't happen again. She can't rely on anonymous kindness. "I need to go into town for a bit," Dana tells Amy after they've finished. "Can you watch Oliver?" "Stay right here in the playground where I can see you from Thea Street." Amy nods solemnly, already shifting into her protector role for her younger brother. "We'll be okay, Mom." Diana walks quickly down Silver Hollow's main street, noting potential places to sleep if it rains. The small convenience store at the corner seems like her best option. Busy enough that she might go unnoticed. Small enough that security will be minimal. The bell above the door chimes as she enters. Diana forces herself to walk normally, pretending to browse while calculating what they need most. Something catches in her chest when she spots him, the man from yesterday, examining motor oil on a shelf near the counter. She turns away quickly, tamping down her resentment. Would she have done any different in his place? Diana waits until the elderly cashier is distracted, then slips a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter into her oversized purse. She adds a small package of cookies for the children before heading toward the door. Heart hammering against her ribs. "Excuse me, miss." The store owner's voice stops her cold. "I think you forgot something." Diana turns slowly, meeting the stern gaze of a balding man with Gary stitched in his vest pocket. "Empty your bag, please," he says, not unkindly but firmly, "or I'll have Lynn call Sheriff Mills." Behind the counter, a gray-haired woman already reaches for the phone. Diana's legs go weak. If she's arrested, what will happen to Amy and Oliver? Dominic would find them in the system within days. There's been a misunderstanding. Diana attempts, her voice barely audible. "No misunderstanding." "I saw you plain as day, Gary," insists, extending his hand for her purse. Seconds past that age, Diana AH 100 red years. Her heart thunders in her head, palms clammy, throat dried like a desert. What was she thinking? How could she have stooped so low as to steal? She tries desperately to think of something to say, but there's nothing she can do. Gary keeps his hand out, his lips purse, his bushy eyebrows furrowing. I'll pay for it. The deep voice startles Diana. The man from yesterday stands beside her, his tall frame somehow between her and Gary without her noticing his approach. This isn't your concern. Hayes, Gary says, but his tone has softened. Put it on my tab. The stranger's eyes never leave Diana's face. Whatever she has, Jackson, Lynn begins, phone still in hand. Please, Lynn. Something in the man's quiet request makes the woman slowly replace the receiver. Gary sigh. Your tab's getting mighty long this month. The man, Jackson, finally breaks his gaze from Diana's to nod at Gary. I'll settle up on Friday, promise. Diana stands frozen, caught between humiliation and desperate gratitude as Jackson gently takes her elbow, guiding her toward the door, outside on the sidewalk. His amber eyes lock with hers, something unspoken passing between them. Why? She finally manages. His expression is unreadable, jaw flexing as if he's trying to find the right words. Eventually, he steps into the street and says, Come on, it's going to rain soon. Chapter 2. Jackson. Jackson walks side Chapter 2. Jackson beside with the stranger down Main Street, hands stuffed in his jacket pockets, his shoulders tense. He wants to tell her that he's sorry about yesterday, but knows that if he does, he'll have to explain himself, and he can't afford to do that. Not for Tarara's safety. I'm Jackson, by the way, he says, finally breaking the silence. The woman glances at him. I'm not a thief, she says, tilting her chin up. You don't need to explain, Jackson interrupts, I get it. The woman stops walking, forcing him to pause as well. Do you? Because right now my life is like a retelling of Les Miserables. Have you ever read Les Miserables? She shakes her head before he can answer. Of course you haven't, Jackson remains silent. All I'm trying to say, she continues, is that when your children look at you with hungry eyes, you can't. Her voice trails off. Jackson nods once. He understands. He's been there. He doesn't say it, though. As they approach the turn toward the park, the stranger clears her throat. Diana Bytheway, she says, and holds out a slender hand as if making a peace offering. Jackson considers it, then takes it. Her grip is as firm as his, but the palm soft against his heart and skin. Thank you, she says quietly, for helping me back there and for the breakfast this morning. The kids were so happy. What breakfast? Jackson interrupts. Diana blinks in confusion. The food package on the bench this morning. That wasn't me, Jackson says. They stare at each other, mutual confusion written across their faces. Jackson realizes they're still holding hands and releases hers suddenly. The sound of laughter reaches their ears, and together they round the corner to the park and spot 3 children playing together on the swings. Tara, who should be at school right now, is pushing Diana's young son on a swing while her daughter jumps excitedly beside them. Dad. His daughter waves enthusiastically. Look who I found. Suddenly it all starts making sense. The breakfast, Jackson murmurs. That was Tarara. His heart does something complicated, caught between exasperation and pride. That was very kind of her, Diana observes. I told her not to get involved. Jackson admits, but she gets her stubbornness from her mother. The words slip out before he can stop them, making Jackson freezes. Why did I say that? He thinks, angry with himself. Sometimes he forgets what Bridget did, how she looked at their daughter. In moments like these, watching Tara's fierce determination, he sees only the good parts, the strength that could have come from either parent. Then reality crashes back, and he hates himself for giving that woman an ounce of credit for the remarkable person Tara has become. Probably sensing the tension, Diana asks hesitantly, Is her mother around? Before interrupting herself, looking for the right words. Tara has no mother, Jackson wants to say, because in his mind she doesn't. She has someone who gave birth to her, and that is all. But he can't say that without raising questions, and so gone is all he says. The word coming out harder than he intends. Don't think about it, Jackson orders himself, forcing the memories back into the locked box where they belong. Dinah clears her throat, interrupting his thoughts. Jackson realizes her hand is on his forearm. Yeah, she says. My kids don't have a father either. Jackson's eyes snap to hers. There's understanding there, plain and simple. They approach the playground together, and Diana's children immediately run to her. The boy whom Jackson learns is called Oliver. wraps himself around her legs while the girl, Amy, hangs back slightly. "Mom, Tara showed us how to go super high on the swings," the boy exclaims, his earlier hunger forgotten in the joy of childhood play. Tara slides off her swing and approaches her father, chin lifted in a gesture that clearly anticipates a scolding. "I left a note in your lunchbox," she says defensively. "And I used my allowance for the food." Jackson crouches to her level, his large hands gentle on her shoulders. The fierce protectiveness that surges through him at the sight of her helps push away the darker memories. "That was a kind thing you did," he says simply. Tara's eyes widen in surprise. She glances between her father and Diana, something like hope blooming on her young face. Jackson straightens and takes a deep breath. When his eyes meet Diana's again, he's struck by the emotion in them. "I'm making spaghetti tonight," he says, the words coming out almost reluctantly. "Nothing fancy, but there's always too much." He pauses. "You and the kids should join us for dinner." Diana looks stunned by the invitation. "That's very kind of you, but I insist," Jackson murmurs. He glances at the children now playing together again as if they've known each other forever. "Tara would love to have you," he admits with surprising honesty. Until that moment, Jackson hadn't noticed just how tense Diana's entire face seemed to be. But the smile that breaks across her face transforms her entirely. "Thank you," she whispers. After Jackson writes their address down on a piece of paper, he leads Tara from the park towards the school. At the gates, he looks back at Diana with her kids huddled on either side of her, just as she reads the note. Diana's surprised laugh echoes through the park, bright and unexpected as sunshine after rain. And Jackson can't suppress a smile. "Why is she laughing?" Tara asks. "I wrote her a note." "What did you say?" The corner of Jackson's mouth lifts in a half smile. "That I do know what it's like to be Jean Valjean," he says quietly. Chapter 3. Diana. Chapter 3. Diana clutches Oliver's hand tightly as they walk through the deepening twilight toward Jackson's address. Amy trails slightly behind, still weary but hungry enough not to complain. The streetlights flicker to life as they turn onto Maple Street. A black sedan crawls past, windows tinted dark. Diana's heart stutters. Dominic's men favor cars exactly like that. Sleek, anonymous, threatening. She pulls Oliver closer, quickening their pace. "Mom, you're hurting my hand," Oliver protests. "Sorry, sweetie." Diana loosens her grip but keeps glancing over her shoulder. Is she being paranoid? The car turns at the next corner, disappearing from view. Jackson's house surprises her. A modest bungalow attached to his garage, but neatly kept with potted mums flanking the steps. Warm light spills from the windows and the aroma of garlic and tomatoes greets them before Tara flings open the door. "You came." The little girl beams, bowing low and ushering them inside like a miniature hostess. Dinner is simple but plentiful. Spaghetti with meat sauce, garlic bread, and a green salad. And aside from Oliver leaning over to ask in an all-too-loud whisper, "Is it poisoned?" They all chatter easily. Tara even manages to draw out the quieter Amy with questions about her favorite superheroes. Diana can't remember the last time her kids laughed so freely. Jackson says little, but his eyes miss nothing. Twice he refills her plate without asking, somehow sensing her reluctance to take more despite her hunger. After dinner, Tara practically vibrates with energy. "Can we play outside, please?" Jackson hesitates, then nods. "Stay in the yard. Be careful." Something in his tone makes Diana wonder, not just ordinary parental concern, something deeper, more specific. The children race outside into the fenced backyard, their excited voices drifting through the open window. Left alone, Diana helps clear the table despite Jackson's protests. They work in companionable silence until she notices him watching the children through the window, tension evident in his shoulders. "You worry about her a lot," Diana observes quietly. Jackson's amber eyes shift to her, assessing. "Wouldn't you?" "Fair point." Diana rinses a plate, then adds with a small smile, "I should tell you something important." His entire body tenses. "What's that?" "Your spaghetti is terrible." For a moment, Jackson stares at her. Then a surprised laugh escapes him, a rich sound that transforms his face. "That bad, huh?" "The worst." Diana grins. But when you're hungry enough, their laughter fades into comfortable silence. Diana watches their children playing tag in the yard, moonlight silvering their movements. "I'm running from someone," she confesses suddenly, the words spilling out before she can reconsider. "Someone dangerous. That's why we're here in Silver Hollow hiding." She turns to face him fully. We'll be gone by morning. This town seemed perfect to disappear in, but after today at the store, Jackson dries his hands slowly on a dish towel. The people here mind their business, he says carefully. Gary won't talk. Still better to keep moving. Diana forces a smile. Thank you for tonight, though. It meant more than you know. Jackson looks back at the children, then at Diana. Something shifts in his expression. A decision crystallizing. Stay. What? I have a spare room. Just until you figure things out. His voice is gruff but certain. Silver Hollow is a good place to disappear. The unexpected kindness hits Diana like a physical force. Without thinking, she flings her arms around him, feeling him stiffen in surprise before cautiously returning the embrace. Thank you, she whispers against his chest, embarrassed by the tears threatening to fall but unable to pull away. Jackson's heart pounds steady and strong beneath her cheek. And for the first time in months, Diana feels safe. Chapter 4, Diana. Chapter 4. Diana. Diana expertly flips pancakes, feeling Jackson's eyes on her from the doorway. 3 weeks have passed since that first dinner, and she still marvels at how seamlessly they've all fallen into this rhythm. Amy, Oliver, and Tara sit at the table together, coloring while they wait for breakfast, their chatter filling the house with warmth Diana hadn't dared hope for. Her children have blossomed here. Oliver's nightmares about Dominic have faded, replaced by dreams of playground adventures with his new best friend, Amy. Always cautious with strangers, now seeks out Jackson's gentle guidance with her homework, trusting him in ways that both surprise and move Diana. And Tara, sweet, fierce Tara, has embraced her role as protective big sister with enthusiasm that makes Diana's heart ache with fondness. Jackson has been a revelation, where Dominic used the children as pawns, showering them with expensive gifts when he wanted something from Diana, ignoring them completely when they served no purpose. Jackson simply sees them. He remembers that Oliver likes his sandwiches cut into triangles, that Amy prefers to read curled up in the window seat, that both children need reassurance after thunderstorms. His care is quiet, consistent, unconditional, and with Diana herself, she catches herself watching him more often than she should, noting the way his amber eyes soften when he looks at the children, how his rare smiles transform his entire face. Their late-night conversations after the kids are asleep have become the highlight of her days. Tentative explorations of shared values, gentle probing of carefully guarded pasts. Earth to Diana, Jackson calls, pulling her from her thoughts. Can you grab the syrup? It's almost pancake o'clock. As they all sit down to eat, Tara takes her first bite and sigh dramatically. Dad, can Diana just do all the cooking forever? She asks, maple syrup glistening on her chin. Remember your scrambled eggs last week? Hey, those eggs were Jackson's searches for a defense. Black, Amy offers helpfully, causing all three children to dissolve into giggles. Diana meets Jackson's eyes across Thedible, warmth blooming in her chest at his sheepish expression. This feeling of belonging, of family, is everything she'd dreamed of but never thought possible. After breakfast, they bundle the children off to school. Getting Amy and Oliver enrolled at Silver Hollow Elementary had been surprisingly easy, and Diana watches with quiet satisfaction as they walk hand in hand with Tara toward the building, their backpacks bouncing with each step. They're really settling in, Jackson observes, following her gaze. Thanks to you. Diana touches his arm gently. I don't know how to repay you, for you don't need to repay anything. Jackson interrupts, but something in his expression shifts, a shadow crossing his features. Diana, there's something I need to tell you about Tara. About both of us. We're not exactly... The shrill ring of the telephone cuts through his words. Diana watches confusion flicker across Jackson's face as he glances between her and the phone. You should get that, she says, feeling a tinge of disappointment. Whatever he'd been about to share felt important. Jackson moves to the wall-mounted phone with obvious reluctance. Hello. Diana continues cleaning the breakfast dishes, but something in Jackson's suddenly rigid posture makes her look up. All color has drained from his face, his knuckles white around the receiver. Is she okay? What about the other child? His voice is tight, controlled, but Diana can see panic rising in his eyes. There's something almost feral in High's expression, something that makes her take an unconscious step backward. Yes, I'll be right there, he says, hanging up slowly as if in a daze. Jack, what happened? Diana moves to his side, placing a steadying hand on his arm. His muscles are coiled tight as steel cables. It was the school. His voice sounds hollow. Tara bit somebody. Diana blinks, certain she's misheard. Bit someone, like in a fight. She tries to inject lightness into her voice. Kids do that sometimes, Jackson. It's not the end of the world. But Jackson's reaction suggests otherwise. He's already reaching for his keys and jacket, his movements sharp and desperate. The easygoing man who'd been making pancakes minutes ago has been replaced by someone Diana doesn't recognize, someone terrified in a way that seems completely disproportionate to the situation. You don't understand, Jackson says. And there's something in his voice, something raw and almost inhuman that makes Diana's skin prickle with unease. I have to get to the school now. I'm coming with you, Diana insists, concerned by his obvious distress. Amy and Oliver can stay with Mrs. Peterson next door. Jackson, talk to me. What's really going on? He pauses at the door, and when he turns to look at her, his amber eyes seem to flash gold in the morning light. For a moment, Diana could swear there's something wild looking back at her, something that doesn't quite belong in a human face. Diana. He struggles to find words, his jaw working as if he's fighting some internal battle, but nothing comes out. Nothing that would make sense to someone who doesn't know his secrets. The look Diana gives him is open, concerned, devoid of judgment. She reaches for his hand and he lets her take it, though she can feel the tremor running through his fingers. Let's go, she says finally, sensing that pushing for answers now will only increase his panic. You can explain on the way. But as they hurry toward the truck, Diana can't shake the feeling that whatever Jackson is hiding is bigger and more dangerous than a simple schoolyard incident. The way he looked at her, the tone of his voice, the barely leashed desperation in his movements. Something is very, very wrong, and she's about to find out what. Chapter 5. Diana. Chapter 5. Diana clings to the door handle as Jackson's old truck roars down the streets of Silver Hollow, taking corners too fast. His knuckles are white on the steering wheel, jaw clenched so tight she can see a muscle twitching. She's never seen him like this. Not just worried, but terrified. Jackson, slow down. You're scaring me. He barely seems to hear her. Amber eyes fixed on the road, occasionally flicking to the rear-view mirror as if expecting pursuit. I knew this would happen. He mutters more to himself than her. I knew it, and I let you stay anyway. I put you all in danger. Diana stares at him, bewildered. In danger, Jackson is just a schoolyard scuffle. You don't understand. His voice sounds strange, almost guttural. This is exactly what I've been afraid of since the beginning. I never should have let you into our lives. The words sting, but Diana pushes past the hurt. It's a bite, Jackson. Children bite sometimes. It doesn't make them monsters. Jackson's laugh is harsh, humorless. You have no idea. Then explain it to me. Diana's patience snaps. Because you're acting like Tara committed murder. Jackson's jaw tightens stubbornly. Reassuringly, she puts her hand on his forearm. Calm down, she only bit someone. Don't tell me to calm down. Jackson snarls with such ferocity that Diana physically recoils. Something in his eyes shifts. A flash of gold that must be a trick of the light. And then he's back, looking immediately regretful. I'm sorry. We need to get there now. Silver Hollow Elementary comes into view. Its brick facade suddenly ominous. Jackson parks haphazardly and is out of the truck before Diana can unbuckle her seatbelt. The hallway to the principal's office stretches like a gauntlet. Jackson strides ahead, his broad shoulders tense beneath his worn flannel shirt. When they enter the office, Diana takes in the scene at once. Tara sits small and defiant in a chair, Amy and Oliver beside her looking scared. Across from them, a boy about Tara's age sniffles dramatically, while a woman Diana assumes is his mother hovers protectively. Principal Matthews, a balding man with kind eyes, rises from his desk. Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming so quickly. Where's the bite? Jackson demands without preamble. The mother, expensively dressed with a pearl necklace that catches the fluorescent light, stands. My Bobby has been traumatized by your violent child, she says, each word precise and cutting. I want her expelled immediately. Jackson ignores her, crouching before the boy. Show me where she bit you. Excuse me. You do not talk to him like that. The mother covers the boy's chest protectively. Mr. Hayes, the principal, begins. Perhaps we should discuss this calmly. Now Jackson insists, his voice leaving no room for argument. Diana watches, squatting by her children and giving their hands a squeeze. She's never seen him like this before. Reluctantly, the boy extends his arm, pulling back his sleeve to reveal nothing. Not even a red mark. Jackson stares, confusion replacing fear. There's no bite. She tried to bite him. Bobby's mother insists. She threatened him. Principal Matthews clears his throat. Actually, Mrs. Caldwell, we've spoken with several witnesses. It seems Bobby was well. He was taunting Amy and Oliver, called them some very unkind names. Amy looks up, her young face serious. He said we were poor white trash, she says through gritted teeth. Said his mom told him we don't belong here. What's poor white trash? Oliver asks quietly. Mrs. Caldwell has the grace to flush. Bobby would never. Tara defended them. The principal continues firmly. She did threaten to bite Bobby if he didn't leave them alone, but according to the playground monitor, no actual contact occurred. Diana watches as the tension drains from Jackson's body, replaced by profound relief. He looks like a man who's just been granted a stay of execution. She pretended to bite me. Bobby protests, clearly unhappy that his performance isn't having the desired effect. She made growling noises and everything. Jackson turns to Tara, who meets his gaze steadily. Is that true, kiddo? Tara nods once. He was being mean to Amy and Oliver. I told him to stop or I'd bite him. Her small chin lifts. I wouldn't really have done it, Dad. I remember the rules. The ride home is quiet. The children, exhausted by the emotional morning, doze in the back seat, leaving Diana and Jackson alone with the humming engine and the questions hanging between them. Diana can't stop watching him, trying to reconcile the terrified man from earlier with the one who now drives calmly through the autumn afternoon. Jackson shifts uncomfortably under her scrutiny. Thank you, she says finally. He glances at her surprised. For what? For defending my children. For being ready to take on the whole school system because someone was cruel to them. Diana touches his arm lightly. That means something, Jackson. He's quiet for so long that Diana thinks she won't respond. When he finally speaks, his voice is low and controlled. I think you should find somewhere else to stay. The words hit like a physical blow. Diana stares at his profile, searching for some hint of the warmth they'd shared just that morning at breakfast. What? She manages, certain she's misheard. It's not safe for you and your kids with us. Jackson keeps his eyes fixed on the road. What happened today? It was a warning. Next time we might not be so lucky. A warning, Jackson. Nothing happened. It was a misunderstanding. This time, his hands tighten on the steering wheel. I can't risk there being a next time. Diana looks back at the sleeping children, Tara's head resting on Amy's shoulder, Oliver curled against his sister's side. In just 3 weeks, they've become inseparable. The thought of tearing them apart makes her chest ache. No, she says firmly. Jackson's head snaps toward her. What? I said. No. Diana crosses her arms. Not unless you give me a real explanation. The truck slows as they approach a red light. Jackson stares straight ahead, the muscle in his jaw working again. You don't know what you're asking, he says finally. Then tell me. The light turns green, but Jackson doesn't move. Behind them, a car honks impatiently. Tonight, he says so quietly, Diana almost misses it. After the kids are Chapter 6. Jackson asleep, I'll tell you everything. Chapter 6. Jackson. Jackson carries Oliver, while Diana takes Amy. Tara trailing sleepily behind them. The children, drained from the morning's events, don't even stir as they're tucked into their beds. Jackson lingers in the doorway, watching the 3 small forms breathing steadily beneath their blankets. They look so peaceful, so normal. The sight makes his chest ache with what he knows must come next. In the kitchen, Jackson busies himself, clearing breakfast dishes that were abandoned in their rush to the school. He rinses each plate meticulously, taking far more time than necessary, hyper-aware of Diana watching him from the doorway. Are we going to talk about it? Her voice is determined. Jackson sets a plate in the drying rack. About what happened at school? I think we covered it, about you asking us to leave. Diana moves into the kitchen, placing herself directly in his line of sight, and not giving me a real reason why. The hurt in her blue eyes makes it hard to meet her gaze. Jackson reaches for another dish. but Diana's hand on his arm stops him. "Jackson, look at me." He does reluctantly. In the past 3 weeks, he's memorized every detail of her face. The small crease between her eyebrows when she's worried. The determined set of her jaw when she's standing her ground like now. "I've been honest with you," she continues. "I think I deserve the same courtesy." Jackson dries his hand slowly on a dish towel. "Some things are better left unsaid." "I don't believe that." Diana's voice hardens. "I told you everything." "Everything?" "You told me you were on the run. That's it. What do you want to know?" "I told you I was on the run." Her frustration spills over. "I was working as Dominic Glover's cleaner, the super-rich steel manufacturer." "Yeah, that one. He manipulated me into a relationship. I bore his children, believing his promises to leave his wife. And when I finally gathered the courage to leave, he threatened to take the kids or worse." She pauses, chest heaving, hands balled into fists. Jackson remains silent, the weight of his own secrets pressing down on him. "I've shared everything with you, Jackson." She takes a step closer. "Every ugly, shameful part of my story, and now you want us to leave without even telling me why." Jackson turns away, gripping the edge of the sink. "The difference between what I'm hiding and what you're hiding," he says, his voice low and tense, "is that what I'm hiding is for your own good. That's not your decision to make." Diana's hand on his shoulder forces him to turn and face her. "I'm tired of men deciding what's best for me without giving me all the information." The accusation stings, because he wants to be different, wants to be worthy of the trust she's placed in him. But how can he explain what he is? What Tara is? "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," he says finally. "Try me." Jackson studies her face. The determination, the hurt, the genuine concern. In 3 weeks, she's become essential to him in ways he never anticipated. "I'm a wolf," he says flatly. Diana stares at him for a long moment before her expression hardens. "That's not funny, Jackson. I'm not joking. You're not a wolf. You're a man." Diana crosses her arms. "If you don't want to tell me the truth, just say so. Don't make up ridiculous stories. It's not a story." Jackson's frustration builds. It's why I was so terrified about Tara biting someone. Her saliva carries the shifter's gene. It's toxic to humans. One bite could kill. Diana shakes her head in disbelief. "Stop it. Just stop. If you want us gone, just say so. It's the truth." Jackson's voice rises. "Why would I make this up?" "Fine." Diana crosses her arms. "Show me then, Diana." Jackson shakes his head. "It's not. Show me." She snaps. "You want the truth?" Jackson's control slips as his own anger rises to meet hers. "Fine. Here's your truth." Before Diana can respond, the change takes him. Bones crack and reform. Fur erupts through skin. His face elongates into a muzzle filled with sharp teeth. Diana's scream catches in her throat. She stumbles backward until she hits the refrigerator, her face drained of all color. "Oh my God," she gasps, her voice barely audible. "Oh my God!" Jackson shifts back quickly, the human transformation even more painful than the change to wolf. He reaches for her, still half naked from the shift. "Diana, please let me explain." "Stay away from." Her voice trembles with fear. "Don't touch me, Diana." But she's already moving, running to the children's room. Jackson hears her frantic whispers, the confused murmurs off the kids as they're shaken awake. He pulls on his discarded shirt, his hands shaking. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Oliver's sleepy voice drifts down the hallway. "We have to go, baby, right now." "But why?" Amy protests. "It's nighttime now." "Amy, don't argue." Jackson stands frozen in the kitchen listening to the hurried footsteps, the confused questions. Diana's responses. When she reappears, the children in tow. She won't meet his eyes. "Diana." She pauses at the door, her face a mask of fear and betrayal. "Stay away from us," she whispers. Then they're gone, the door closing behind them with devastating finality. Jackson sinks to the floor, head in his hands. The wolf in him howls with loss, but the man understands all too well. He's just destroyed the first chance at happiness he's had in years. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Jackson. Jackson's wrench clangs against metal as he works beneath the hood of Mrs. Peterson's car. The familiar smell of motor oil and grease surrounds him, but the usual comfort of mechanical work eludes him. His mind replays Diana's face, the terror in her eyes, the betrayal over and over. 30 minutes of mindless work hasn't dulled the ache in his chest. If anything, it's grown sharper. The memory of Bridget's face flashes unbidden through his mind. The disgust, the rejection, the way she'd turned away from their newborn daughter as if Tara were something diseased. The pain of that moment, 7 years old now, feels fresh as an open wound. Rejected again by Diana. Dad. Tara's small voice startles him. He bangs his head on the hood as he straightens, cursing under his breath. You should be asleep, kiddo. He tries to keep his voice steady, reaching for a rag to wipe his hands. Tara ignores the deflection, her amber eyes scanning the garage before settling on his face. Where's Diana and Amy and Oliver? Jackson's throat tightens. How does he explain this to a child when he can barely understand it himself? They had to leave, sweetheart, in the middle of the night. Tara's expression shifts from confusion to understanding. What did you do? Me? Jackson startles. I didn't do anything. You're lying. Tara rolls her eyes. You're a bad liar, Dad. Jackson shakes his head, suddenly exhausted. I did what I should have done from the start, he says. And Diana chose to leave as she should. Tara blinks, studies his face, pouts, and then, This is about Bridget, isn't it? She asks, crossing her arms. The name hits Jackson like a physical blow. Why would she say that? Why would she talk about Tara? This isn't, he searches for the right words. Your mother is not. She isn't my mother. Tara's voice is fierce, protective of something Jackson can't quite name. He winces here as focusing on his own pain when it's so much worse for Tara. Tara was born nothing short of perfect, and yet was rejected anyway for being different, for not having a wolf. Baby, he reaches for her hand. I'm so sorry. I'm not. Tara interrupts. You think I care about Bridget? I don't need her, Daddy, I have you. Her small face crumples with worry. I just don't want you to be sad anymore. Jackson sinks to his knees, overwhelmed by the weight of his daughter's perception. She's always been too smart, too aware. But this level of understanding breaks something inside him. The tears he's held back for 7 years through their rejection, the exile, the countless lonely nights finally spill over. You deserve more, he chokes out. You deserve a mother who loves you, a pack that accepts you, a normal life. You're enough, Daddy. Tara throws her arms around his neck, fierce and certain. You've always been enough. Jackson holds her tight, his large frame shaking with suppressed sobs. This brave little girl rejected by her birth other before she was old enough to understand why, offering him comfort when he should be the one protecting her from the world's cruelty. But Diana, she's different. Tara continues, pulling back to look at his face. She didn't reject us, she did, Jackson says bitterly. I showed her what I am, and she ran just like heck. Can't finish the comparison. Daddy, Tara scolds, her hands on her hips in a gesture so reminiscent of Diana, it makes his chest ache. She was just surprised. You have to give her a chance. I know she'll love us, I know it. Amy and Oliver didn't care when I told them. Jackson freezes. You told them what? Tara's chin lifts defiantly. About us, about what we are. Tara panic floods through Jackson's system. You can't tell humans about, and they accepted it. Tara interrupts, her voice triumphant. They thought it was cool. Oliver asked if I could teach him to howl. And Amy wanted to know if I had super strength. They didn't run away, Daddy. They didn't think I was broken. Jackson stares at his daughter, mind reeling. Children accepting what adults fear. But still, Tara, if the pack finds out, we let humans know our secrets. What pack? Tara's question cuts through his panic like a blade. We don't have a pack, Daddy. We're our own pack. We make our own rules. The simple truth of it hits Jackson like a revelation. For 7 years, he's been living by rules set by people who cast them out, following traditions that never protected them, hiding from a community that never wanted them anyway. When did you get so smart? He asks finally, wonder creeping into his voice. I've always been smart. The ghost of a smile touches Tara's lips. Jackson looks at his daughter. This extraordinary child who carries the burden of being different with more grace than he ever has. She's right. He's been hiding behind old fears, old wounds, old rules that no longer apply to their life. The last bus leaves at 11:15, Tara says, as if reading his thoughts. If we hurry, we might catch him. Jackson glances at the clock. 10:47. They have less than 30 minutes. Without a word, he grabs his keys and they race to the truck. Tara climbs in, fastening her seatbelt with determined efficiency as Jackson starts the engine. What are you going to tell her? Tara asks as they speed toward the bus station. I don't know yet, Jackson admits. But you're right. We make our own rules now. The streets of Silver Hollow blur past. Jackson's heightened senses strain forward as if he might catch Diana's scent on the night air through the closed windows. They screech into the bus station parking lot at 11:02. Jackson's heart pounds as he scans the small waiting area. Relief washing over him when he spots them. Diana sitting on a bench. Amy and Oliver huddled sleepily against her. There, Tara points, already unbuckling her seatbelt. Jackson throws the truck into park. But before he can open his door, a black sedan pulls up sharply beside the bench. Two men in dark suits leap out. Everything seems to slow down. Diana's head jerks up, her face registering recognition, then terror. She tries to gather the children, but she's too slow. The Mengra, ignoring his frightened cries. Amy somehow manages to bolt away. She sees Jackson's truck and runs straight for him. No, Jackson roars, lunging from the truck. The men shove the struggling Oliver into the sedan's backseat. One of them strikes Diana as she fights to reach him, sending her crumpling to the ground. They hesitate when they see Jackson running for them, putting himself between them and Amy, and decide against confrontation. Jumping back into the car, they speed away. By the time Jackson reaches the scene, the black sedan is already far off, taillights disappearing into the night. Chapter 8. Jackson. Chapter 8. Jackson watches Diana press a cold washcloth to her throbbing cheek where Dominic's man struck her. Her body sits rigid in the kitchen chair, but he can smell the shock radiating from her, sharp and metallic. Behind them, Amy sleeps soundly on the couch, her head resting on Tarara's lap. Oliver's absence feels like a gaping wound in the small house. We need to call the police, Diana says mechanically, reaching for his phone on the kitchen counter. Jackson gently intercepts her hand. No, we can't do that. What do you mean we can't? Anger flares through her shock, and Jackson can hear her heartbeat spike. My child has been kidnapped. And the moment the police get involved, Dominic will disappear with him. Jackson keeps his voice gentle but firm. Men like him have contingency plans. They have resources. Jackson watches Diana sink deeper into the chair. The reality of their situation written across her face. Hakan smelled the lingering terror from earlier when he'd shifted in front of her. But that fear has been overshadowed by something much stronger. A mother's desperate need to protect her child. Then what do we do? Her voice cracks. I can't just sit here while he has him. Tara, who has been unusually quiet since they returned to the house, speaks up from the couch. We need help. Jackson shakes his head. Yeah, sure. But who could possibly help with this? The pack, Tara says simply. Jackson sees Diana look between them, confusion cutting through her despair. The pack, what's that? A community of wolf shifters like us who live outside town. Jackson explains reluctantly. He watches Diana try to process this information, her brow furrowing in concentration. Okay, so people who can turn into wolves. She asks before Jackson can reply. She adds, I mean, that could be useful to thwart off Dominic's men, I guess. Yeah, Jackson sighs. Except they won't help. They're my former pack. Former? Diana asks. Jackson feels Heist's expression darken. Old wounds threatening to reopen. They cast us out when Tara was born. Something in his tone must warn Diana away from pressing further because she doesn't ask for details. But they're strong, Tara insists. They could help us get Oliver back. They won't help us, Jackson says bitterly. They made that clear 7 years ago. And if you think for 1 second that Garrett Holden is going to lift a finger to help humans, wait. Diana sits up straighter and Jackson catches the sudden change in her scent. Recognition mixed with excitement. Did you say Garrett Holden? Jackson stares at her. Yes, why? Diana's eyes go distant for a moment as if she's remembering something. When she speaks, her voice is stronger. Because Dominic has been controlling him. Controlling all of them. What do you mean? Jackson leans forward, his wolf's instincts sharpening at her tone. When I worked for Dominic, I cleaned his private office. Diana stands, beginning to pace as she talks. I heard him on phone calls, barking orders at someone he called Holden. She stops, turning to face Jackson. I remember one call specifically. Dominic said something like, "I don't care what your environmental concerns are, Holden. You'll vote against that permit or I'll make sure the state knows exactly what your little community really is." Jackson feels his blood run cold. He threatened to expose them, and this Holden person just complied. I never understood why such a powerful-sounding man would take orders from Dominic until now. Diana's voice grows stronger as she continues. But there was more than just phone calls. I saw documents with Garrett Holden's name everywhere. Financial records, photographs, what looked like surveillance reports. Blackmail, Jackson breathes, understanding dawning. Dominic has something on the pack. Not just something, everything. Diana turns to face him, and for the first time since Oliver was taken, Jackson sees hope flickering in her eyes. I saw the files, Jackson. Bank records, compromising photos, documentation of things that could destroy them if made public. Dominic owns them completely. Jackson's jaw clenches, rage building in his chest. That bastard. No wonder they never fought back against his developments on their territory. But here's the thing, Diana continues, and Jackson can hear the plan forming in her voice. I still have my security badge. Dominic never asked for it back when everything fell apart between us. And I know that building like the back of my hand, which guards take breaks when which doors have the most sensitive alarms. You want to break into his office, Jackson says. It's not a question. You want to free your pack, Diana corrects. Think about it. If we destroy those files, Garrett and his people will be free from Dominic's control for the first time in years. They'll owe us. Jackson follows her logic, his tactical mind engaging, and in exchange for their freedom, they help us get Oliver back. Diana finishes. A pack of werewolves versus Dominic-shired thugs. It wouldn't even be a contest. Tara looks up from the couch, her eyes bright with hope. They'd have to help us then. It wouldn't be charity. It would be payment for a debt. Jackson runs a hand through his hair, considering the risks. It's dangerous. If Dominic catches you in his office. He has my son, Diana says quietly. I'll do anything. Jackson studies her face. The steel replacing despair, the fierce determination. This is what a mother should be. He thinks this is the kind of woman who fights for her children no matter the cost. You said you still have contacts, Jackson says slowly. People who might help us get those files. Diana nods. John Mercer. He's worked for Dominic for years, but he's always seemed conflicted. He's the one who helped us escape to Silver Hollow. If Agnone would turn against Dominic, it would be him. Can you trust him? I think so. He has children of his own. He understands what's at stake. Diana moves toward the phone. I need to make a call. As Diana disappears into the hallway with the cordless phone, Jackson turns to Tara. Even with his enhanced hearing, he can only catch fragments of the conversation. Urgent whispers and long pauses. Whatever happens, he tells Tara. You and Amy are staying with Mrs. Peterson until this is over. But Dad, no arguments, Tara. His voice softens. I already almost lost Diana and her kids once tonight. I can't risk you two, and Amy needs you to keep her safe. Fine, Tara concedes reluctantly. But promise you'll be careful. Promise. When Diana returns, Jackson can smell the nervous energy radiating from her before she even speaks. He agreed. John will get us the documents. Jackson studies her face carefully. Just like that. What's his price? Protection from Dominic. Diana twists her hands together. He says he's been looking for a way out for months. If we can free the pack and expose Dominic's illegal activities, John thinks he can disappear before Dominic realizes what happened. Where does he want to meet? Jackson asks. The old lumber mill outside town tomorrow at midnight. Diana meets Jackson's gaze. He says he can get the files, but will need to move fast after that. Once those documents are destroyed, Dominic will know someone accessed his office. Jackson nods once, decision crystallizing. Then we have a plan. John gets us the documents. We approach the pack with proof of their freedom, and they help us get Oliver back. And if Garrett refuses, Diana asks. Jackson feels his eyes flash gold momentarily. Then we remind him what it means to have honor. No matter what happened between us, no child should suffer for the sins of adults. Diana reaches across the table, taking his hand in hers. No matter what it takes, she says. Jackson squeezes her hand. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the windows of the small house. A storm is coming. Chapter 9. Jackson. The abandoned lumber mill cacks and groans in the autumn wind, its weathered beams shifting like the bones of some ancient beast. Jackson and Diana huddle in what once was a foreman's office, the small room offering a perfect view of the road where John will arrive. Outside, the temperature drops as night deepens, the cold seeping through the cracked windows and settling into the small space. Diana shivers, wrapping her arms around herself. "Here," Jackson murmurs, shrugging out of his flannel overshirt and offering it to her. When she hesitates, he adds, "Werewolf metabolism. I run hot." A ghost of Asmile touches her lips as she accepts the shirt, draping it around her shoulders. Convenient. It has its perks. Jackson tries to keep his voice light, though his senses are overwhelmed by her proximity. The scent of her hair, the sound of her heartbeat, the warmth radiating from her skin, all amplified by his wolf nature. Diana settles back against the wall beside him, their shoulders touching. Neither moves away. "How much longer?" she asks, glancing at her watch and the dim moonlight filtering through dirty windows. "Another hour at least." Jackson's voice sounds rougher than he intends. John said, "Midnight." Silence stretches between them, filled with unspoken questions and the weight of all that's happened. "Jackson?" Diana says finally, her voice quiet about earlier. "When you showed me what you are, I'm sorry I ran." Jackson turns to look at her, surprised by the apology. "You don't need to apologize for being scared." "But I do." Diana meets his gaze steadily. "I was terrified, yes, but I've gotten used to rejection." Jackson interrupts gruffly. "Sometimes it's easier to cause it yourself than wait for it to happen." "Well, I shouldn't have run," Diana continues, her voice growing stronger. "You've been nothing but kind and helpful to us when you didn't need to be. That's more than I can say about most men. Way more than I can say about my children's poor excuse for a father." The bitterness in her voice makes Jackson's wolf stir protectively. "Can I ask you something?" he asks. "What did you see in him?" "Dominic." Diana sighed, drawing her knees up to her chest. "I was 22. First job out of community college. He was—" She pauses, searching for words. "Powerful, confident. When someone like that pays attention to you, makes you feel special." "You were young," Jackson offers, "and stupid." Diana agrees bitterly. "He was my first real relationship, my first everything." Her voice turns hollow. "I thought I knew what love was. Thought having his children would make him finally choose me over his wife." Jackson's wolf growls possessively at the thought of Dominic touching her, but he pushes the feeling down. "We all have past we'd rather forget." "What about you?" Diana asks, turning the conversation. "Tara's mother, what was she like?" Jackson freezes. For a moment, he's back in that sterile pack house, watching the woman he'd loved more than life itself turn away from their daughter, with disgust written across her beautiful face. Bridget was Jackson struggles forwards. "She was everything to me. Strong, fierce, the alpha's daughter. When we bonded, I thought I was the luckiest man alive." Diana waits, sensing there's more. "When Tara was born, I was so proud." Jackson's voice cracks slightly. "This perfect little girl with my eyes and Bridget's stubborn chin." But when the midwife placed her in Bridget's arms, the memory unfolds with brutal clarity. Bridget's face had gone from exhaustion to horror in seconds. She'd held Tara at arm's length as if the baby might contaminate her. "I can't sense her wolf," Bridget had whispered, her voice thick with disgust. "Jackson, she doesn't have a wolf. What's wrong with her?" Jackson shakes his head in disgust, and Diana reaches for his hand, her touch grounding him. "Bridget wouldn't hold her after that first time. Wouldn't even look at her." He lets out. The words come out raw, torn from old wounds. She sank into this depression, but it wasn't sadness. It was shame. She'd lock herself in our room while I cared for Tara alone. Jackson can still hear Tara's hungry cries echoing through empty rooms, while Bridget hid from her own daughter. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that once Bridget saw how perfect Tara was. Jackson's laugh is bitter. "I was delusional." "What happened then?" Diana asks gently. Jackson closes his eyes, the memory still sharp enough to cut. "Tara was 6 months old. I came home from hunting to find Bridget packing a bag. She said she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't pretend to love a defective child. The fight that followed had been vicious. Jackson begging, pleading, trying to make Bridget see that their daughter was perfect exactly as she was. But Bridget's mind was made up. We need to give her away, Jackson. She'd said we can start over, have a real child. She wanted to abandon Tara, Jackson says, the words barely audible, give her to strangers and pretend she never existed. Diana's grip on his hand tightens. Oh, Jackson. When I refused, she ran to her father. Garrett. Jackson's voice hardens. The great alpha who I'd respected my entire life. He sided with Bridget immediately. The confrontation in Garrett's office plays out in Jackson's mind with perfect painful detail. The alpha had sat behind his massive desk, Bridget weeping dramatically beside him, while Jackson held 6-month-old Tara protectively against his chest. The child is wolfless, Hayes. She's a liability to the pack security, a constant reminder of our genetic weaknesses. Bridget is right. She belongs with the humans? She's your granddaughter, Jackson had roared. And what do you mean with the humans? A bite from her could harm them. She's a mistake, Garrett had replied coldly. And you have a choice. The child goes or you both do. Decide now. He gave me an ultimatum, Jackson whispers. Give up, Tara, or leave the pack forever. Diana makes a sound of pure outrage. They exiled you for protecting your daughter. A wolf without a pack isn't supposed to survive. Jackson continues, we're social creatures. We need the structure, the hierarchy, the safety of numbers. Garrett thought I'd break within weeks and come crawling back without her. Jackson remembers that first night alone, sitting in his truck at a gas station with 17R. A newborn who wouldn't stop crying and nowhere to go. The isolation had been crushing, like a physical weight pressing down on his chest. Instead, I learned what real strength was, Jackson says. Not pack strength, father strength. The kind that makes you fight the world if it threatens your child. Diana shifts closer. Her warmth of comfort against old pain. I understand, she says quietly. When Dominic threatened to take Amy and Oliver, when he made it clear he saw them as possessions instead of children, that's what makes it worse, isn't it? Jackson meets her eyes. They didn't just betray us, they betrayed our children. They sit in silence for a moment, the weight of their pain binding them together. Jackson has never told anyone the full story of Tara's birth, the complete devastation of losing everything he thought was permanent. You know what the hardest part was? Jackson says, finally learning to trust again, believing that someone could look at Tara and see her worth instead of her differences. Diana turns to face him fully. And now do you think you could trust? Jackson leans in slightly. Now I'm terrified of losing the first people who've ever made us feel like family. Diana's breath catches, her lips parting. The space between them narrows, charged with possibility and shared understanding. A flash of headlights sweeps across the wall. They jerk apart, instantly alert. Jackson moves to the window, peering through a gap in the boards. It's a black sedan, he reports, voice tight. Could be John or it could be Dominic's men. Diana joins him at the window, her shoulder pressing against his arm. It's John's car, she confirms. I recognize the dent in the passenger door. Jackson studies her face and profile, the determination in her eyes, the set of her jaw. Despite everything, she hasn't broken. His admiration for her courage swells alongside something deeper, more dangerous. You should wait here, he says. I'll go. No. Diana's tone leaves no room for argument. He knows me. He trusts me.
I need to be the one to approach him. Before Jackson can protest, she slips out the door, pausing only to squeeze his hand briefly.
He watches from the window as she makes her way across the lumber yard, moving from shadow to shadow with surprising stealth. The transaction is swift. John emerges from the car, hands over a manila envelope and speeds away into the night. Diana returns to the office, her face flushed with triumph. Got them, she says, brandishing the envelope. Everything we need to free your pack from Dominic's control. They're not my pack anymore, Jackson reminds her. But his voice lacks conviction. They will be, Diana insists, once they know you're helping them, once they see what real loyalty looks like. Looking at her, this remarkable woman who has faced monsters, both human and supernatural, without flinching, Jackson is struck by a sudden overwhelming realization. He loves her. The thought terrifies him more than any threat they face. Loving her means risking her, means exposing her to the dangers of his world. Can he do that to someone he loves? What is it? Diana asks, noticing his expression. Instead of answering, Jackson pulls her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. We're going to get Oliver back, he murmurs against her hair. I promise you. Diana nods against his chest, I know. Tomorrow they will face Dominic and the pack. Tomorrow they will risk everything, but tonight they have this shared pain transformed into strength. This recognition of kindred spirits who've both loved the wrong people and learned what real love actually means. Chapter 10, Diana. The headlights of Jackson's truck cut through pre-dawn darkness as they turn onto his street. Diana's eyes burn with exhaustion, the manila envelope clutched tightly in her lap like a talisman. They've driven all night, stopping only to call the Silver Creek Pack from a payphone outside town. The call had been tense, but a deal had been struck. "Almost home," Jackson murmurs, reaching across to squeeze her hand. Diana's heart lifts at the word home but freezes when the truck rounds the final corner. A black sedan sits in the driveway, sleek and menacing against the humble backdrop of Jackson's house. "No," she whispers, panic clawing up her throat. Jackson brakes sharply, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Stay in the truck," he orders, but Diana is already opening her door. As if she snaps. Amy and Tara are in there. They approach the house together, Jackson slightly ahead, his body tense and ready. The front door stands ajar, warm light spilling onto the porch. Diana's breath comes in shallow gasps as they step inside. The scene that greets them stops Diana's heart. Dominic sits in Jackson's armchair like a king on a borrowed throne, his expensive suit incongruous against the worn furniture. Two men in dark suits flank him, expressionless behind sunglasses despite the late hour. On the couch sit Tara and Amy, huddled together, eyes wide with fear. "Where's Oliver?" Diana demands, scanning the room frantically. Dominic smiles, the expression never reaching his cold gray eyes. "Safe for now." He gestures to the couch. "I only needed one hostage after all." Amy drew the short straw. Jackson's growl is barely human, his body vibrating with restrained fury. Diana grips his hand tightly, as much to steady herself as to hold him back. "What do you want?" she asks, though she already knows. "You, of course." Dominic adjusts his gold cufflinks with practiced nonchalance. "Did you really think I would let you go? That I would let you take my children?" "They're my children," Diana snaps. "You never wanted them. You never even acknowledged them publicly." "Details." Dominic waves a dismissive hand. "My boy here told us everything, where you were staying, who was helping you." His gaze slides to Jackson, assessing, though. "Oliver left out some interesting details about your new protector." Tara shifts on the couch, catching Diana's eye with a meaningful look. The little girl's expression carries a warning. She hasn't revealed their secret. "It's over, Diana," Dominic continues. "Time to come home. Amy stays with me tonight as insurance, but you'll get both children back once you're settled, in the new house I've arranged. Far from here. She's not going anywhere with you." Jackson's voice is dangerously low. Dominic's laugh is sharp. "And who's going to stop me? You, a disgraced mechanic. I own this town. I own the Silver Creek territory. I own the windows rattle as howls pierce the night air. Not one, but many. The sound surrounds the house, primal and threatening. Dominic's bodyguards reach inside their jackets, drawing weapons. What the hell is that? The front door bursts open. A massive man fills the doorway, flanked by others. Garrett Holden, alpha of the Silver Creek Pack, his amber eyes flashing with barely contained rage. "You owe nothing, Morris." Garrett growls. "Not anymore." Dominic rises, face flushing with anger. "This doesn't concern you, Holden. I have arrangements with your pack. Those arrangements are terminated." Garrett steps into the room, followed by 6 pack members. "We're no longer afraid of you or your threats." Understanding dawn on Dominic's face as he looks between Diana and the envelope still clutched in her hand. "You didn't." "We did," Diana confirms, satisfaction warming her voice. Every file, every piece of blackmail gone. Dominic's composure cracks. "This isn't over," he snarls. "There will be consequences." "Leave," Garrett interrupts, "while you still can take your men and go." For a tense moment, Dominic seems ready to fight. Then calculation returns to his eyes. He straightens his jacket with a sharp tug. "This isn't over," he repeats, nodding to his men. They back toward the door, weapons still drawn. "The kids stay with me," Diana says firmly. Dominic's smile is cold. "For now, but I'll be seeing my children again. Diana, count on it." The moment the sedan's taillights disappear down the street, Diana rushes to Amy, gathering her into a fierce embrace. Jackson lifts Tara, holding her close as relief washes over his face. "Oliver," Diana asks, looking up at Garrett. "Safe," the Alpha confirms. "At our compound, we intercepted them, bringing him back here." Diana sobs with relief, pulling Amy tighter against her. Jackson kneels beside them, one arm still around Tara, the other reaching for Diana's hand. For a moment, they cling to each other, a family forged in crisis. The Silver Creek Pack watches silently, their presence, both protection and promise. They are no longer alone. Chapter 11. Jackson. Golden afternoon light bathes the yard. As Jackson sits in the porch steps, contentment warming him more thoroughly than the autumn sun. Beside him, Diana leans against his shoulder, her fingers intertwined with his. Before them, 3 children chase each other across the lawn, their laughter carrying on the breeze. "Tag, you're it!" Tara shrieks, tapping Oliver's shoulder before darting away, auburn braids flying behind her. Oliver giggles immediately, pivoting to Chasemi, who squeals and seeks refuge behind the old oak tree. The past weeks have eased the shadows from their eyes, returned color to their cheeks. They look like ordinary children now. Not hostages, not refugees, just kids playing in the yard of their home. Home. The word still catches in Jackson's chest. Sometimes after years of isolation, of careful distance, his small house brims with life and noise and belonging. "Penny for your thoughts?" Diana asks, her thumb tracing circles on his palm. "Just thinking how different everything is," Jackson admits. "A month ago I was so afraid of letting anyone close." Diana smiles, the expression reaching her eyes in a way that still makes his heart stutter. "And now you're stuck with 4 of us. Wouldn't have it any other way." Jackson brings their joined hands to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. The change between them has been gradual and natural. Tension melting into tenderness. Fear giving way to trust. They haven't rushed, both still healing from their separate pasts, but the promise of something deeper grows stronger each day. Tara has flourished most of all. No longer burdened by secrecy or shame about her condition, she's found purpose in watching over Amy and Oliver. Her inability to shift, one a source of such pain, now seems almost like a gift, a bridge between worlds that allows her to move freely between human and werewolf communities. The sound of approaching vehicles draws Jackson's attention. 2 trucks roll up the driveway, familiar scents reaching him before he can make out the drivers' faces. "The pack," he murmurs, straightening slightly. Diana squeezes his hand. "I'll take the kids inside." "No." Jackson's decision is immediate. We face them together. Garrett Holden steps from the lead truck, followed by his beta and 3 other pack members. They approach with measured steps, respectful of territory boundaries even now. Tara runs to Jackson's side, Amy and Oliver following more cautiously. Jackson stands, drawing Diana up with him, their blended family forming a united front on the porch steps. "Alpha," Jackson acknowledges with a slight nod. "Hayes." Garrett's voice is deep, resonant with authority. "Your house looks well." The simple observation carries weight in werewolf custom, an acknowledgement of Jackson's success despite his exile. "We've come with an offer," Garrett continues. "The council has reviewed your case. With Dominic's threat neutralized and his criminal activities exposed, circumstances have changed." Jackson waits, sensing what's coming. "The Silver Creek Pack would welcome you back," Garrett says formally. "You and your daughter would be reinstated." 7 years ago, these words would have been everything Jackson wanted. Acceptance, belonging, safety for Tara within the pack structure. He feels Tara tense beside him, waiting for his response. "That's a generous offer," Jackson says carefully. Garrett nods toward Diana and her children. "The woman and her pups would be allowed to live close by, of course, under your protection." Jackson feels Diana stiffened slightly at being discussed as a package deal rather than approached directly. He smiles, knowing her thoughts without needing to ask. "Thank you, Alpha," Jackson says, genuine respect in his voice. "But we'll remain as we are." Surprise flickers across Garrett's face. "You choose to stay rogue even now." "I choose this family," Jackson corrects gently. "This home, this life we're building." Diana's hand finds his again, her touch conveying everything words cannot. "Silver Hollow has become our territory." Jackson continues. "These children, this woman, they're my pack now." Tara beams up at him, pride shining in her amber eyes. Garrett studies them for a long moment, something like understanding passing over his features. "The offer remains open," he says finally. "Should you ever change your mind?" "We appreciate that," Jackson replies. "And the pack will always have allies in Silver Hollow." The werewolves depart as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. The children return to their play, their energy undiminished by the interruption. Diana turns to Jackson, her blue eyes searching his face. "Are you sure? The pack would have given you back everything you lost." Jackson shakes his head, drawing her closer. "Not everything. Some things you have to find on your own." His hand cups her cheek, thumb tracing the curve of her lower lip. Some bonds are stronger than pack tradition, he murmurs. Bonds like fate? Diana asks, a teasing light in her eyes. No, Jackson answers seriously. Bonds like choice? Every day I choose this. I choose you. When he finally kisses her, it feels like completion rather than beginning. The natural culmination of a journey they've been on since that first meeting in the park. Diana's arms wind around his neck as she rises on tiptoes to meet him, her body fitting against his as if designed for exactly this purpose. Behind them, Tara's exaggerated, followed by Amy and Oliver's giggles, breaks the moment. Diana laughs against Jackson's lips before pulling back slightly. I choose you too, she whispers. Wolf and all. As twilight settles over Silver Hollow, Jackson Hayes, mechanic, werewolf father protector, stands on his porch, surrounded by the family he never expected and the love he never thought possible. For the first time in years, he is exactly where he belongs. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed listening to this story, please hit the like button, share it with someone who'd love this, and subscribe to Nightbond Narratives and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Tell me in the comments below which part of the world you are watching from. Also, tell me which part of the story you like the most. Compilation of a video of an audiobook takes a lot of time and effort, so if you see any ambiguity, please ignore it. I hope you will appreciate my effort.